Welcome back to another create your own character video, and the idea behind this video is I posted a message in Discord that said, hey, I'm going to be doing this, and people went and then made kits for different characters, whether it was in the My Hero universe or the Jujutsu Kaisen universe, Dragon Ball, whatever, but all of the kits are similar in that they are designed for the game My Hero Ultra Impact. So we're going to be taking a look at some of these kits today. I hope I can get to everybody's. I don't know if I will. It just depends on if my voice holds out long enough. If I do not get to your kits, I apologize. I'm going to go in order of people who submitted first. That way, hopefully those people get theirs. And then if yours does not get reviewed, I will try to go over it next time. Okay, so with that said, we are going to be starting with this person's right here. I am in streamer mode, so you can't see their full name. But America's Strongest Star and Stripe revamped plus ultra move is called Kronos. Deals 550% damage to all opponents. Gives character the ability to evade 2 times, and the reason this is revamped is because we do have a Star and Stripe in game, but it's like terrible. It's not bad, but the Star and Stripe in game is just not that good. Okay, so it gives character the ability to evade 2 times, increases this skill's skill impact by 35% if the opponent is an N-type character. Also increases this skill's skill impact by 35% when character is not evading. Blocks the opponent's buffs for 2 turns if the opponent isn't an N-type character. Okay. Interesting. You know what? Blocking buffs if they're not a certain type of character. That's interesting. Action skill 1, Power Strike, deals 400% damage to a single opponent. Also increases character speed by 25% for 3 turns and gives character the ability to evade 1 time. Also increases character's power by 30% for 3 turns when HP is above 50%. Okay, so not bad. It is another single target attack, but it gives a speed boost of 25%. Action skill 2, Fist Bump to the Earth, deals 300% damage to all opponents, decreases their defense by 20% for 3 turns, and decreases their speed by 25% for 3 turns. Also increases this skill impact by 35% if there are any N-type opponents, decreases all ABL type opponents' power and skill impact by 30% for 3 turns, and you turn this into a multi-hit. That's the big thing. So like this not being a multi-hit makes it, multi-hit skills are just always going to be better because you can potentially hit 5 hits in 1 move for 99,000 as opposed to 1 hit for 99,000 on all enemies, right? So a multi-hit AoE, kind of insane. That would have been way better, right? Auto skill 1, a free hero. When character is not evading, increases character's max HP by 20%, speed by 30%, and skill impact by 30%. When character is evading, increases character's power by 4% up to 10 times, and increases the speed of all allies by 15% for 3 turns. After 2 turns pass while character is evading, shorten character's cooldown by 1 after 2 turns pass while character is not evading, cancels all opponents' status ailment immunity buffs, and gives immunity buff block for 2 turns. Auto skill 2, contributing to the piece, gives character the ability to evade 3 times when HP is below 50%, up to 2 times. When character gets knocked out, decreases the speed of all opponents by 30% for 3 turns, and defense by 20% for 3 turns, and removes all the opponent's temporary buffs, blocks all non-int type opponents' buffs for 3 turns when character is knocked out. That would be very interesting, right? Okay. I'm not gonna lie, I like the revamp more than I like the original kit in the game. So good stuff, really good stuff. Okay. Next up, we have Alaragiki. How do you even begin to say that first part? Alaragiki, Hope and Despair Reborn. Okay, that's just their name in Discord. That was a struggle. Anyways, honestly, I just outdid myself because I managed to make this really bad Deku character into an absolute beast, so I hope you guys will enjoy this, okay? I will enjoy it because honestly, Green Deku has never been the greatest, so I'm interested to see what we got here. So, Never Give Up, Izuku Midoriya revamped new plus ultra move is called Virginia Smash. Deals 650% damage to a single opponent, increases power of all allies by 20% for 3 turns, and gives them the ability to nullify 2 status elements. Yo, yep, that's good. This skill gains piercing shot, high chance of stunning the opponent for 2 turns. Yep, that's way better. That's so good. Yeah, please. When the devs have done this in the past too with the World Heroes missions characters, updated kits. Update it to this, devs. Update it to this version right here. Action skill 1, Detroit Smash, deals 450% damage to a single opponent. Increases character skill impact by 40% for 4 turns when used in a successfully executed skill chain. Also increases skill impact by 20% for 4 turns when used in a second or later successfully executed skill chain. And medium chance 40% of stunning the opponent for 2 turns. The stuns are just OP if you get it for 2 turns. That's really, really good. Cooldown time of 3, that also makes him good. Action skill 2, Complete Devotion, increases characters plus ultra move skill impact by 80% for 4 turns. That's insane. Also increases characters plus ultra gauge by 70% and increases characters critical hit rate by 30% for 5 turns. Also increases characters critical hit skill impact by 50% for 5 turns. Cooldown time of 3. Auto skill 1, Established Tactics, gives character bullseye and increases characters plus ultra effect by 70%, increases characters power by 55% and speed by 60%. Yo, that's nuts. Every time a critical hit is made, increases characters power by 9% up to 6 times and defense by 15% up to 6 times. Yo, he's insane. Okay, auto skill 2, Come With All You've Got. When HP is below 40%, increases character skill impact by 80%, and once per battle gives character the ability to have persistence for 7 turns. Yo, you may have cooked a little too hard on this deck. That's even better than like Foe 100%. Damn. Okay. That is really, really good. Persistence for 7 turns might be a little bit OP. Like, yeah, no. Persistence for like 2 or 3 turns would be fine. But other than that, yeah, that revamp, insane. Absolutely insane. Okay, moving on to the next kit. I think this is Duckage. I'm not sure. Sorry, stream mode just does not. Anytime I open OBS, it doesn't let me see. So, anyways, here we go. School of Life, Nejire Hado. We got some. It looks like original art as well for this. Okay, that looks pretty cool. I actually like that a lot. That's sick. I'm not gonna lie. If we could get like outfits like that for URs, that'd be pretty cool. We do have, of course, like the school outfits for like rares, but I mean, I think some UR school outfits would be sick to get. So the plus ultra move is called Spiraling Barrage. Deals 500% damage to all opponents, increases character's critical hit rate by 30% for 3 turns, increases critical hit impact by 40% for 3 turns. If character has the ability to nullify status elements, all allies recover 25% of their max health and gain a protected barrier worth 20% of their max health. Okay, so it's not the normal stupid barrier that they have in game that takes 1 hit and it's done. This is a barrier that's worth a certain percentage of your health. That's how it should be done. That's actually insane. This protected barrier has to be depleted before the ally can take max health damage. Interesting. Action skill 1, Nejire Wave, deals 325% damage to all opponents, so another AoE, so 2 AoEs. And this character gains the ability to nullify 2 status ailments then. All allies gain the ability to nullify a status ailment and recover 15% of their max health for 2 turns. All allies gain a protected barrier worth 15% of their max health here as well. Interesting. Cooldown time of 4. Action skill 2, Bubbling Personality, increases speed of all allies by 35% for 3 turns. Additionally, gives all allies the ability to nullify a status element. When an ally nullifies a status element using this given nullification, they recover 20% of their max health when they nullify something. That's crazy. Increases skill impact of all allies by 8%, stacking. Jeez. Okay, she's really, really good. That's insane. Auto skill 1, Joyful Outlook, increases character speed by 45% at the first turn of each encounter if there are 3 opponents. At the beginning of battle, select an opponent, permanently increase their action skill cooldowns by 1. Yo, that's crazy. Auto skill 2, Clueless but Not Ignorant, increases critical hit rate of all UA high allies by 15%, doubled when they have a protected barrier. When an ally scores a critical hit, they recover 10% of their max health and gain plus 5% power for 3 turns stacking. That's nuts. The only thing I would say here is like the permanently increases their action skill cooldowns by selecting an opponent. That doesn't make sense because an auto skill happens automatically. So you should put like at the beginning of battle, randomly chooses an opponent and then permanently increases their action skills or something like that. That would make more sense if you're trying to put this on an auto skill. Otherwise, that would need to be like on an action skill for that to have an action of selecting an opponent, right? So just in the terms of the game, that should be changed a little bit. Next, we have Lily, Those Shall Hear, Koku Hanabata. If I say the name wrong, I'm sorry. I'm not sure how to say this guy's name. Trumpet guy, okay? But yeah, let's go over his kit and see what he can do. We got Trumpet guy right here just so you guys can see who we're talking about as we go through the kit. The Plus Ultra Cancels all ally status ailments and gives them status ailment nullification for 3 turns. This cannot be blocked or cancelled if character has more than 50% health. Increases all allies' power by 60% and critical hit rate up by 50%. Also gives all allies the ability to overwhelm for 3 turns. If character has less than 50%, increases all allies' defense by 60% and critical resistance by 50%. Also gives all allies the ability to make a last stand 6 times. Holy crap. And reduces character's cooldown time by 6. That's nuts. That's absolutely nuts. So, okay, he just basically gets his cooldowns back as soon as he does a plus ultra. And the plus ultra can either really enhance attack for your team or really enhance defense. That's interesting. Skill 1 increases skill impact of all allies by 50% for 2 turns. If allies' health is below 50%, gives a barrier that can take 3 hits. If the opponent has piercing shot, gives allied the ability to evade 2 times. Also increases plus ultra gauge of all allies by 20%. Also hides character for 3 turns if used in the first successfully executed skill chain. Okay, we're looking really good. Skill 2 deals 400% damage to 1 enemy, decreases the opponent's defense by 30% for 3 turns, also decreases the opponent's critical damage by 20% for 3 turns if used in a successfully executed skill chain. Auto skill 1, give liberation a chance. Increases power, defense, and speed of all allies by 40% if each member from the team is a different type. From the 3rd turn onward, regenerate 20% health every turn. Prevents plus ultra gauge down. Ooh, that's interesting. We haven't really had that yet. And buff block for 2 turns if used on a first successfully executed skill chain for 2 turns. Okay. Auto skill 2, freedom of speech. When character is hiding, gives all allies the ability to counter status ailments if character gets hit. When hiding, decreases all opponents' power by 20% for 2 turns and decreases the plus ultra gauge of the opponent that is attacking by 5%. Okay. He seems really overpowered, but like not overpowered in terms of like damage, but just how much he does for the team. It's really good. Increases the duration of the status element by 1 turn if the opponent initiates a critical attack 2 times. Multi-hit skills count as 1, and increases by 2 turns if the opponent initiates a critical attack 4 times. He seems really like insane support. He would be a really cool villain support to see. I don't know how he would fit in exactly, but he does seem like a cool unit. So I like the idea there. That's a very cool idea. Next up, we have General Grievous here with Shoto Todoroki, a yellow UR type evolved is what it says. And then we got the art of Todoroki right there. So the plus ultra is called Phosphor, gives character Phosphor, which is going to be an ability. We'll read what it is down here in a second. Increases character skill impact, speed, power, and action skill impact by 50% for 3 turns. Okay, so Phosphor. The harmony between fire and ice gives 30% damage down. Whenever he has Phosphor, he looks like this with the blue and red energy waves moving around him in a infinity motion. Okay. So Phosphor, pretty cool effect, giving him that damage reduction. That's actually pretty good. Action skill 1, Cold Flame's Pale Blade, deals 500% damage to a single opponent, has a high chance 65% of deep freezing that target for 2 turns, has a high chance 70% of burning the target for 4 turns if character has Phosphor. Increases character's defense and critical resistance and max HP by 40% for 3 turns. So more critical and defense here, plus extra damage reduction from having Phosphor here. That's kind of, he's going to be very, very tanky. Very interesting. And he's going to have status elements with the freeze and the burn. I assume deep freeze. I don't know if you put it in here, but I assume deep freeze means it just can't be broken is what I think I remember from a previous video. So like normal freezes, they can break. Deep freeze means 2 turns. It just can't be broken. Okay, so interesting. Action skill 2 is called Great Glacial Aegis. If I'm saying that part right, I might not be. Deals 450% damage to a single opponent, has a high chance 60% of burning the opponent in Hellfire, has a high chance 70% of deep freezing the opponent for 2 turns. If character has Phosphor, increases character's critical hit rate and critical hit impact by 50% for 2 turns. Okay. So interesting. It looks like you don't get Phosphor until you plus Ultra though, but then once you have plus Ultra, how long does the Phosphor last? That would be my question. Okay, I'd be interested to know. Auto skill 1, half cold, half hot for each buff character has, increases their deep freeze, burning, and hellfire hit chances. Each buff is equal to a 3% increase. Okay, that's kind of cool. Auto skill 2, Complete Harmony. Whenever character gains Phosphor, gives character the ability to overwhelm for 3 turns. So now he's going to be tanky and hit hard. And gives character buff block and buff removal immunity and increases plus ultra gauge by 50% every 2 turns. Okay. I would actually just like straight up status ailment immunity on the boy. Like that would make him just insane. Any character that ever gets like status ailment immunity, if that happens at some point, is going to be broken. Because that's just OP. Next up, we have Ace Blacker. And they decided to make a kit for Fantasy Sero, okay, which will probably never come out, unfortunately, but it would be really cool if we did. And he said he drew the art himself for an art contest almost a year ago, so this is sick, okay? So you guys can see the Fantasy Sero here and the different parts of his design and stuff, so feel free to pause it and check it out if you guys want to check out that art. But I'm going to go ahead and read through the kit. So the plus ultra move is called Classic Bait and Switch. Deals 600% damage to a single opponent, forces opponent to switch out to another character in subslot. I love that. I think that's a ability that we need to have. Like, you know, enemy bosses have had the ability to do that to us for a while, like in climax battles, but we have yet to get a character that can do that and force subslot units out. That would be so cool. Increases character speed by 10%, which is stackable. Shortens character's action skill cooldown time by 1 if character is faster than the opponent. And this skill gains piercing shot against opponents affected by cover or aggro. Okay. Action skill 1, Precision Shot, deals 375% to a single opponent with a medium chance to fatigue them for 1 turn. Decreases defense of a single opponent by 25% for 3 turns and increases character speed by 20% for 3 turns. Gives character bullseye for 2 turns when used in a second or later successfully executed skill chain. So pretty decent, not actually anything too crazy there for action skill 1. Action skill 2, Trapping Barricade, deals 275% damage to all opponents, so it is an AoE attack, with a medium chance 45% of binding all of them for 1 turn. Decreases their speed by 20% and power by 25% for 3 turns. And then gives character the ability to evade 2 times, gives all allies the ability to evade 1 time. I think if you made it like a 2-turn bind, that would make it a little bit better. I think that would make it more worth it. Auto skill 1, a Trapper's Keen Intuition, gives character Sharp Eye when character does not have Bullseye. Increases speed by 30% for 3 turns when battle starts. Further increases speed by 15% for 3 turns each time character gains the ability to evade. So he'll be able to evade. He also has Sharp Eye, which makes some of the attacks miss. And then when character gets knocked out, gives all allies the ability to evade 2 times and increases their speed by 25% for 2 turns. Okay. Auto skill 2, Tape-Filled Imagination, gives character Elasticity. Gives character speed down immunity for 1 turn, and when battle starts, lowers all opponents' critical hit rate by 15% when character has the ability to evade. When HP is below 30%, gives character resilience and the ability to make a last stand for every 10% of speed up character has. Wow. That could be insane. Like, you put a speed up memory on him as well, could be a lot of last stands. And then my other thing is, like, interesting that you decided to give him elasticity, because as far as I know, I think, I could be wrong here, but I think the only person in the game with that right now is Gentle Criminal. There might be more, but as far as, like, in my mind that I can think of immediately would be Gentle Criminal. So interesting giving him that as well. But very interesting kit. Looks good for a fantasy character. Okay, let's see what else we got. We got Righteous Society Stain. There is no image for this one, but if you guys don't know who Stain is, you probably haven't watched My Hero, and you're probably not watching this video. So hopefully you know who Stain is. Project, I'm assuming Purification is what that was supposed to say. URification. No, that was intentional. URification. Because they want Stain to be a UR. We've all wanted it for a long time, right? And Stain, it's crazy. He still doesn't have a UR in the game. But all right, let's see. Plus Ultra Move, Purging Blade, deals 650% damage to a single opponent. Medium chance 55% to blood curdle the opponent. Low chance 40% of causing the opponent to bleed for 3 turns. Medium chance 45% to cause fear in the opponent for 3 turns. Up to 2 status elements can be applied during 1 use of the Plus Ultra Move. Blood Curdle, by the way, works similar to Bind, but adds 1 turn to the cooldown of the opponent's action skills. Okay, that's actually insane. So they're like bound for a turn, and they also have their cooldown extended. That's crazy. That's really, really good. Action skill 1. Purge the Fakes, deals 375% damage to a single opponent. Low chance 30% of binding the opponent, increases chance of binding if the opponent is bleeding. If the opponent already has Blood Curdle inflicted on them, increases power by 15% for 3 turns. I like it. Cooldown time of 3 is not too bad. Action skill 2, All for a Just Society. Increases character's power by 50% for 3 turns. Also increases character's critical hit rate by 40% for 3 turns. Decreases power by 25% for any opponents with the pro hero affiliation. Cooldown time of 4 turns. Auto skill 1 is called Hero Killer. Increases character's power by 25% for 2 turns after landing a critical hit. Increases skill impact by 15% if landing a critical hit on a pro hero. Auto skill 2 increases character's critical hit rate by 35% when HP is below 60%. Further increases character's critical hit rate by 25% when HP is below 25%. Okay, so interesting character, and like it's not the most in-depth kit here, but that's okay because like sometimes kits come out like this and they're nice when they're simple, right? And then the Blood Curdle thing is new, and I really like the Blood Curdle thing. So I really like the Blood Curdle thing. Like, not gonna lie, I really like the idea. So good stuff. I'm still hoping someday we get to see a UR stand-in game. Probably eventually, but we haven't seen one yet. Okay, next up we have something from San Rafi. This is a 2-character kit. I don't know how a versus character works. Do we have an explanation of versus character? Only one part of the character can be played, which you can select in team formation. Skills and effects depending on what you select. Okay, so it's one character, but with 2 characters, and you choose which one you use, which is interesting. Okay, but you can only use 1 per battle, it looks like. Interesting. We'll have to see. So we're gonna go through this. All right, Mahito. Plus ultra move is called Body Repel Stab Punch, deals 500% damage to all opponents and decreases their skill impact by 45% for 2 turns, deals 200% additional damage to a single opponent and has a high chance 80% to inflict bleed on the opponent for 3 turns, decreases all opponents max HP and power by 30% for 3 turns, makes character ecstatic for 3 turns, which is stackable. I don't know how you stack ecstatic because ecstatic just increases how fast your plus ultra gauge raises by a percentage unless you're stacking percentages somehow, which is interesting. Also, if versus effect is active, decreases all opponents plus ultra gauge by 25% and increases their cooldown time by 2. That's insanely good. That's really strong. Action skill 1, Soul Gun, deals 8 instances of damage of 50% damage each time hitting a random opponent, bypasses hiding, covering, and drawing aggro. So it's just randomly hit people. Each instance has a low chance, 20%, to inflict fear for 2 turns, so it's a multi-hit attack, 8 chances to hit. Each one of those times it hits, it can have a chance to inflict fear, which even a low chance, you're probably going to inflict the fear, which could be insane. Every 2 instances, the skill gains Piercing Shot, so only part of the hits will be piercing, which is interesting. If used in a second or later successfully executed skill chain, increases character's plus ultra gauge by 25% and makes character ecstatic for 3 turns. Decreases all opponents' defense by 25% for 3 turns. Also, if the versus effect is active, each instance decreases all opponents' skill impact by 5% and has a low chance, 35%, to block all opponents' recovery for 3 turns. Insane kit so far. You've gone crazy on Mahito. Action skill 2, Giant Arm Slam, deals 300% damage to all opponents and has a medium chance, 50%, to inflict fear to all opponents for 3 turns. Makes character ecstatic, which is stackable somehow. Once again, don't understand that. For 3 turns and decreases all opponents' max HP by 20%. If versus effect is active, blocks all opponents' buffs for 3 turns and increases character speed by 25% for 4 turns. Auto skill 1, Funny Massacre. When an ally inflicts damage using an action skill, increases the skill impact by 20%. How do you increase this skill impact? It's an auto skill. And I think you want increases skill impact just in general, right? By 20%. When an opponent is KO'd, makes all allies ecstatic, stackable only for the character. Okay, once again, I don't understand the stacking. And decreases all opponents' defense and critical skill impact by 20% for 4 turns. For each ecstasy, I think you meant ecstatic stack, character has, increases character skill impact by 10% and reduces damage taken by 8%. gives character the ability to make a last stand when receiving 3 critical hits. Auto skill 2 is called Soul Manipulation, makes character agile for 5 turns, and increases character speed by 50% for 2 turns. Increases character speed by 25% after 2 turns. Once per turn, reduces all allies cooldown time by 1 when character passes 2 turns while being ecstatic. Recovers 20% of character's max health every turn and reduces all hits character receives that don't land a crit by 60%. So they do like no damage to him on top of that. So he's just insane, takes no damage, does insane damage, can ignore aggro or hiding, which is insane. Like, yeah, Mahito's broken. Okay, Yuji Itadori. Plus Ultra, Enraged Fury of Blows. Deals 700% damage to a single character, and this skill lands a critical hit, guaranteed. Increases character's power and defense by 40% for 3 turns and reduces all allies' damage received by 30% for 3 turns. This skill gains Bullseye and Piercing Shot if character has the ability to cover allies. If the versus effect is active, increases a single ally's power by 30% and increases all allies' critical hit rate by 35% for 4 turns. Action skill 1, Cursed Uppercut, deals 400% damage to a single opponent and increases character's defense by 20% for 3 turns. When character is affected by damage down, increases all allies' power by 25% for 3 turns. If versus effect is active, increases character's critical hit rate and critical skill impact by 25% for 4 turns. Cooldown time of 4. Action skill 2, Body of Steel, gives character the ability to cover all allies for 3 turns and increases character's defense by 30% for 3 turns. When used in a second or later successfully executed skill chain, increases damage taken by 35% for 3 turns. Also increases all allies plus Ultra Gauge by 30% if versus effect is active. Further reduces damage taken by 20% and gives character the ability to counter single target attacks by dealing 30% of the damage received to the opponent. So far, I'm not gonna lie, I think I like Mahito better. Auto skill 1, Remain Focused and Keep Calm. Once per turn, when an ally is hit, increases character's critical hit rate by 5%, which is stackable. When character lands a critical hit, increases character's critical skill impact by 7%, which is also stackable. And then when an ally is KO'd, reduces all allies' damage received by 45% for 2 turns and increases the character's power by 35% for 3 turns. So he gets stronger when an ally gets KO'd. I've never been a big fan of KO effects, and I've seen a couple of them now. But it's just like, typically you want to get perfects when you're doing fights without having anybody die. So like, it's interesting that you guys are going for these effects that when people die, now you get this effect. Auto skill 2, Fighting Against Evil, increases hero allies' skill impact by 20% and gives them the ability to nullify a status element 2 times every 3 turns. Gives all allies resistance to fear, bounding, and stun. When an ally lands a critical hit, gives all allies a barrier that nullifies 1 hit with a maximum of 5, so you can stack up to 5 barriers, which is nice. So I like that. Gives character the ability to make a last stand when inflicting 5 critical hits. So after you've inflicted 5 critical hits as this character, I assume, not just in general. If it is in general, then that's a little bit OP. But every time you land 5 critical hits with the character and you have Itadori out, you're going to get a last stand, which is okay. And then we have the versus effects here. So Mahito can be activated after an opponent is KO'd or after turn 5. So this is similar to like the, active skills for Dokkan Battle, where you can activate them under certain conditions. Plays the cutscene, decreases all opponents' damage by 25%, inflicts fear on all opponents for 5 turns, and blocks all opponents plus Ultra Gauge for 2 turns. And then Itadori can be activated after an ally is KO'd or after 5 turns as well, and it plays the cutscene, reduces all allies' damage taken by 25%, gives all allies composure for 5 turns, and blocks all opponents plus Ultra Gauge for 2 turns. So it's literally the same exact thing, except for this one does composure and this one does fear. Okay, so interesting. I like the idea. I think Ultra Impact could use something sort of similar to Dokkan Battle in terms of active skills, but I don't know if we'll see it anytime soon or if we need it anytime soon. But yeah, very, very cool kit. So once again, that was by Sanrafi. Shout out to you. Okay, we're going to continue down. We got a couple more here. So we got, how many do we got? Actually, let me take a look at this one just so you guys can see, because I want, at the very least, you guys can pause the video and see these people if I don't get to everybody, right? So at least you can see them. So we got Annie, who submitted one. That's 1. Mono Shots, 2. We got another one from Mono Shots. That's the memory that goes with it. We got Climax Battle Reward, 3. This one's from streamer mode. Dang it, man, I hate streamer mode sometimes. Okay, so 3, character and a memory. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more to go. Can I get through them all? Okay, I'm gonna try, guys. I'm gonna try to get through them. We're gonna do our best, but you can go back and pause the video at any of those points to see any of those again. But yeah, there is a lot of people submitted kits, and like, don't get me wrong, I really do appreciate y'all submitting your kits. Genuinely, like, thank you so much. Before we get to Annie, we gotta look at the memory real quick. Okay, so a battle on Not Alone to Fight increases all allies' critical hit rate by 25% and reduces all opponents' skill impact by 20%. When an opponent or ally is KO'd, increases character skill effects by 10% for the next turn, gives character the ability to make a last stand every 3 turns on top of the last stand you're already given. Nah, that's insane. You went a little bit nuts with the JJK, but I like it. Okay. Rare character. We made a rare character. Okay. Rare mind at school. Anishi Kashimaro. And sometimes people make original characters. I assume that's what this is. I could be wrong. Let us know in the comments, Annie, if this is an original. I'm assuming an original right now. Okay. So plus ultra move. Hourglass flip. Full stop. Deals 350% damage to a single opponent. Low chance 30% of causing fatigue to the opponent for 3 turns. Action skill 1, Strike Through the Ages, deals 250% damage to a single opponent, low chance 25% of causing fatigue in the opponent for 2 turns, cooldown time of 3 and cooldown time of 4 on a rare character. Crazy. Action skill 2, Hourglass Reset, increases character's plus ultra gauge by 30% and gives character the ability to evade for 1 turn. That's an insane rare character, I'm just going to say. So far, like, it's not bad. Auto skill 1, Smartest in the Room, increases character speed by 30% if there are any UA high students on the team. This is way too good for a rare character. This is at least SR. Even though they're like fleshed out, you know, abilities, they're not like super crazy. That's still better than any rare we have. Auto skill 2, Always Have a Backup Plan. Once per battle, gives character the ability to regenerate HP by 50% for 1 turn when HP is below 50%. Yeah, that deserving of almost SR status right there. But that is that kit from Annie for Anishi Kashimaro. Once again, if I say any of these names wrong, I apologize. And then we have the memory that goes with it. You Are Long Trip Home. Gives character hide for 3 turns when battle starts. That's also OP. On a rare character, increases character's max HP by 30% if equipped by a mind type character, grants a barrier that nullifies 1 hit at the start of battle. When HP drops below 50%, grants a barrier that nullifies another hit. And then if equipped by a DST character, grants the ability to evade 1 time at the start of battle. Then when HP drops below 50%, grants the ability to evade another time. So interesting memory. This would be an OP memory right here for any character because it says it just gives the ability to hide at the start of battle. So you could literally take any character you want and be like, yep, I'm going to hide them for the first 3 turns. And that's kind of OP. I'm surprised they actually haven't come out with a memory like that yet for the game in general. Next up, we have mono shots here. Here for a friend, Tenya Iida. Plus Ultra is called Recipro Combo, deals 550% damage to a single opponent, decreases the opponent's speed by 35% for 3 turns, and gives character the ability to nullify 2 status ailments. Also gives the character the ability to use 2 normal attacks for 5 turns. Action skill 1 is called Recipro Burst, deals 375% damage to a single opponent, increases character speed by 40% for 3 turns, and also decreases the defense by 30% for 3 turns, and gives the ability to evade for 2 turns. So it's interesting that it gives him the ability to use 2 normal attacks. I hope there's other stuff down here in the auto skills and stuff that do that as well, but we'll see. Action skill 2, Somersault Kick. It's just because you have to wait so long, 3 turns to get 2 attacks if that's only on the plus ultra. Deals 350% damage to a single opponent. Skill impact is increased relative to character speed. Gives character the ability to evade 2 times. Also increases character's chance of stun resistance for 5 turns, so he won't be stunned hopefully. Auto skill 1, Let's Do This, class 1A. Increases speed of all class 1A characters by 45%. That's a massive speed increase. That would be really, really OP. Also gives all of the class 1A characters the ability to use 2 normal attacks for 5 turns. Does that include himself? Because then there's no point in this, right? Unless it's gonna, I guess it lets him continue to have his 2 attacks, right? So I guess hopefully that includes himself. Increases speed by 5% for every turn the character is not using 2 normal attacks. Well, he's always going to be using 2 normal attacks, so this doesn't quite make sense to me, okay? Auto skill 2, for my friends. Once character is not evading, give the ability to draw aggro and regenerate HP by 15%. And then also gives character speed down immunity. If character gets knocked out, gives all allies the ability to evade 3 times. Also decreases the opponent's speed by 40% for 6 turns. That's OP. That'd be really good. Once again, another death ability though. though. I don't know what's up with you guys in death abilities, but okay. I guess we're doing death abilities today. And then the memory that goes with it, come back to class 1A, increases speed by 35% and critical hit rate by 30%. Also increases normal attack up by 35% for 5 turns. If all allies are knocked out, gives character persistence for 5 turns. Only for Destruction Iida, apparently. Okay. And then next up, we have Ryuku. I'm surprised we haven't got a Ryuku in game either. I would have expected that by now. This is a climax battle character. Would be very cool to get a climax battle Ryuku. Plus ultra move is called Dragon Fury, and it's going to deal 700% damage at max level to a single opponent with a low chance 20% of stunning them for 2 turns. Restores HP to the whole team by 10% of all damage dealt for 2 turns. Yo, that doesn't, it may not sound like a lot, like this may be a short plus ultra description, but that's insane right there. That's actually really, really good. If you have people who can do good damage, like that could be broken. Action skill 1, Dragon Claws, deals 300% up to 400% damage to a single opponent with a low chance 20% of inflicting fatigue for 2 turns and gives character Bullseye for 3 turns. Increases critical hit rate of all allies, including character, by 10% for 3 up to 20%, depending on how far you get, for 3 turns when used in a second or later successfully executed skill chain. Okay, that is pretty good. Action skill 2, Dragon Slam, deals 200% damage to all opponents, so an AoE, with a low chance 20% of inflicting confusion for 2 turns. If it's a multi-hit attack, then the low chance is fine. If it's not a multi-hit attack, I would up it to a medium chance for confusion, you know, in my opinion. Also increases character speed by 15% up to 25% when Bullseye is active. So I hope that's a multi-hit attack. If it's a multi-hit attack, then I would say it's a little bit better. Auto skill 1, Impenetrable Scales, gives buff block immunity to the whole team if there are any UA high students on the team. Also increases skill impact of all heroes by 10% up to 30%. Auto skill 2, Heart of a Dragon, gives recovery block immunity to the whole team if there are any female characters on the team, so you can't be recovery blocked, which is really good. And then also gives character Overwhelm after dealing however many critical hits to an opponent. Apparently, as you upgrade it becomes less critical hits, which is cool. I don't think we've really seen something like that in the game, so that'd be very cool to be able to see a Ryuku come to the game. Hopefully that genuinely does happen. In general, we get a UR Ryuku at some point. We also have a UR memory here. International Affairs gives status element nullification for 2 up to 3 attacks when equipped by a female character. Also grants skill cooldown time by 1 to 2, depending on the level, when used in a 3rd successfully executed skill chain. Increases plus ultra gauge at DX by 30% after dealing 2 critical hits added on. So that would be actually a really good memory, and I think most people would want that memory. So that is a memory that is pretty dang good. And I actually like the art you chose for it, so very, very nice. Okay, next up, we have a kit from Konosuba, it looks like. I don't know the name of this person once again, but art source. So we got the image of Megumin here, and it looks like they took Hydros' like website stuff and put in their own stuff. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So very, very cool. You know, if you guys want to join the Discord, if you're not already in the Discord, and go check this out, they put a lot of work into doing that. That's cool. All right, we're gonna read it from right here though. Kit in text form: Collapse of Origin Megumin. Plus ultra move: Return all creation to cinders. Deals 650% damage to a single opponent. Deals 200% damage to all opponents on the field. High chance 85% to burn all opponents in Hellfire. Decreases the defense of all opponents by 25% for 3 turns. Reduces characters' max HP by 30% for 3 turns. Unremovable and unblockable. Action skill 1, Explosion. Deals 500% damage to all opponents, high chance 90% to burn all opponents for 4 turns. This skill has piercing shot if any opponent has reduced defense. Reduces character's max HP by 20% for 3 turns. Unremovable and unblockable. Cooldown time of 7, really long cooldown. Action skill 2, Render all hope to anguish. Increases character's power by 50% for 3 turns. Restores the character's HP by 30%. Shortens the character's cooldown time by 2 if used in a second successfully executed skill chain. And then auto skill 1, Crimson Demon's Pride. increases character's critical hit rate by 40%, and critical hit skill impact by 50% when HP is above 30%. Character is immune to status elements if any opponent is burning. That's kind of cool. Being immune if you're a burning opponent, that's cool. Auto skill 2, Destruction Incarnate. When the character's HP is below 30%, decreases the critical hit rate of all opponents by 20%, defense by 20%, and power by 40%. Oh boy. When character has decreased max HP, increases the character's critical hit skill impact of all allies by 30%. Okay, that is pretty insane. Now, what I do have to say though, because I've seen Konosuba, I know who Megumin is, right? Like, I gotta just point out that I feel like Action Skill 1 and Action Skill 2 should be equivalent to like Magikarp's Splash, because Megumin can literally do nothing else besides explosion magic, and even then, she can only do 1 explosion a day because she uses up all her magic on it, and she's not going to do any less to do like these auto skill action skills 1 and 2, right? So you should just literally have a plus ultra move on her that does like, I don't know, 1,000 damage to all opponents, and then that would be more accurate for Megumin. But just my opinion. But I like the kit, I like the idea, and and you did build it more towards like what this game is geared towards. So you have to be realistic when you build it. But yeah, very interesting kit. I love seeing other animes in here from like Konosuba and stuff like that. So it's always a fun time to be able to see these kits that people have put together. Next up, we have Kaito's, and we have Steampunk Shoto Todoroki. So we probably will be getting Steampunk Todoroki next, would be my guess, in terms of like Steampunk characters. We'll have to see if he's better than Celebration Todoroki, because Celebration Todoroki wasn't it, in my opinion. I also am still not the biggest fan of Deku or Todoroki for the Steampunk version or Deku or Bakugo, sorry, for the Steampunk version this year. Like the Fest unit is just, I don't know. I wasn't the biggest fan. Hopefully they'll be better in other content if we get new content in the game. I've been preaching this for a while. New content, devs, if you ever watch these videos, we need new content, but we'll see. Okay, Plus Ultra is called Steam Eruption, and then deals 550% damage to all opponents, inflicts all opponents with cold for 4 turns. And we have what cold is anywhere below. Okay, I don't see anything about, oh, right here. Increases the chance to get inflicted by a status element. Okay, interesting. Inflict all the opponents with heat as well, 10% more burn damage. Remove any of the opponent's buffs. That is more than 60% increase in stats. Okay, interesting. Increases character's plus ultra effect by 10%, which is stackable. Gives all allies the ability to nullify 2 status elements. If the opponent is a villain, increases character's speed by 40% for 3 turns. Also increases character's action skill impact by 30% for 3 turns. And the stacking 10% plus ultra effect means that when you use your plus ultra, you still have 10% of your plus ultra gauge left. And then so the second time you use it, you'll have 20% left. Third time, you'll have 30% left. So I think you could actually make this like a 20% multiplier instead of 10. It'd be a little bit better, because as it stands right now, like Deku's plus ultra effect is 70%, right? So when you use Steampunk Deku's plus ultra, he still has 70% of his plus ultra gauge left to use. Action skill 1, Fire Wave, deals 325% damage to all opponents, hopefully a multi-hit attack. Increases character's action skill impact by 40% for 3 turns. Increases all allies' speed by 30% for 3 turns. Gives all allies the ability to nullify 2 status elements when used in a successfully executed skill chain. And inflicts all opponents with heat for 2 turns. So pretty good skill right there overall. I like the abilities for it. Action skill 2, Ice Fog, deals 325% damage to all opponents, decreases all the opponent's speed by 40% for 3 turns. If the opponent is a villain, decreases all the opponent's power by 60% for 3 turns, medium chance 50% to inflict all the opponents with buff block for 3 turns, inflicts all the opponents with cold or for 3 turns, inflicts all the opponents with freeze for 2 turns when using a successfully executed skill chain. And I'm assuming with the freeze, it doesn't make sense to freeze for 2 turns because freeze breaks as soon as you attack, so it'd be like 1 turn there, or just inflict them a freeze in general. Cooldown time of 4. And then action skill 1, Natural Talent. When the wave starts, increases all allies' critical hit rate by 20%, defense by 30%, action skill impact by 40%, plus ultra move skill impact by 50%, power by 60%, and speed by 70% for 3 turns. So the first 3 turns, this guy's just going to pop off. That's crazy. If there are 2 or more UA High Class 1A characters on the team, increases plus ultra effect by 40% and gain immunity to stun. Oh, okay. Never mind. Keep it at 10% for the plus ultra because you got this 40% down here. I lied. So keep it at the 10% up above. Auto skill 2, Blessing. Whenever the opponent's attacks miss, increase character speed by 20% for 2 turns. Whenever the opponent's attacks hit, increases character's power by 20% for 2 turns. Whenever character's attack misses, increases all allies' max HP by 25% for 3 turns. Whenever character's attacks miss, regenerates all allies' HP by 20% for 3 turns. Increases character's action skill impact based on character speed. Increases character's plus ultra move skill impact based on character's power. Okay, interesting. This is probably one of the most interesting auto skills I've seen in a minute. I don't even know what to make of it. That just seems like a lot of confusion, a lot of what did I just do in the battle? But it's this is something they would actually put into the game. They would actually do something dumb like this. So something that helps you, but you don't really ever understand how it's helping you or what you're doing unless you go into the stats and take a look at it while you're in the middle of a battle. But then we got Steampunk Todoroki right here. So that's the art for him. Probably similar to what we'll actually see when we get him in the game. Is that literally right there. And then next we have Mia. I made this kit a while ago, so it might not be great. Mia, it'll be fine. We got the art first off, so you guys can see the art right there. I do believe Mia drew this herself. I believe typically she draws her own art. And so for the character World Heroes, Myaku Koto, Myaku Koto. Okay, thank you for the pronunciation, because as you can see, I'm lost without it. Myaku Koto. Okay, awesome. That was beautiful. Thank you so much for doing that. Plus ultra move, Pulsar Launch Ultima. Deals 700% damage to a single opponent and cancels 2 of the opponent's temporary buffs. Reduces damage dealt to all allies by 30% for 3 turns. This skill gains piercing shot if character's power is increased. Action skill 1, Star Bomb Rapid Fire. Deals 425% damage to a single opponent, medium chance of confusing the opponent for 2 turns, increases the critical hit rate of all allies by 25% for 3 turns when used in a successfully executed skill chain, good support, cooldown time of 4. Action skill 2, Propulsion Crescendo. Deals 350% damage to all opponents, increases character's power by 40% for 3 turns, also increases power of all allies, excluding character, by 30% for 2 turns when used in a successfully executed skill chain. So honestly, you haven't made anything too broken so far. It's kind of balanced. And then auto skill 1, Heroic Superstar. Every 4 turns, character gains the ability to cover for 2 turns. When character lands a critical hit, increases character's critical skill impact by 20% for 2 turns. Character gains resilience when HP falls below 50%. Auto skill 2, I Won't Let You Down. If a class 1A character is on the team, increases max HP of all allies by 25% for 6 turns when battle starts. Also increases character's defense by 15% when character has the ability to cover. Once per battle, gives character the ability to make a last stand 2 times when HP falls below 30%. So pretty good. I would say this, you did say you made this a while ago. I would say the stuff you put into this is a little bit dated. So instead of maybe a last stands, I might do persistence, kind of like full 100% Deku once you hit a certain turn counter or something like that. That might be a little bit better, but overall it's a very solid kit. I think you could have gone way more crazy with what you were doing here, because that's how a lot of these kits are when I read through them. They're just kind of nuts. But overall, this might be one of the most balanced kits I've seen, and something kind of probably more realistic that you would see in the game right there than some of these other kits. Next up, we have Toya Setsuno. Once again, if I say his name wrong, I apologize. This is by Rassi. Plus ultra move, steals the opponent's temporary buffs, deals 600% damage to a single opponent, decreases their power by 20% and defense by 15%. If the opponent is a hero, this skill impact increases by 30% and decreases their power by 40% and defense by 30%. It also shortens character's cooldown time by 1 when larceny count is 3. Also, the skill gains bullseye when character's larceny count is 5. Okay, we're doing a count thing. I'm not even a big fan of the count thing in the actual game. Larceny, by the way, steals the opponent's temporary buffs, low chance 25% to decrease their power by 20% for 2 turns. Action skill 1, 4-turn cooldown. Deals 400% damage to a single opponent, decreases their power by 20% and crit resistance by 25%. If the opponent is a hero, decreases their power by 30% and crit resist by 40%. This skill gains piercing shot when character's larceny count is 4. Action skill 2, 5-turn cooldown. Steals the opponent's temporary buffs, cancels status elements relative to larceny count. That's kind of cool. And then decreases the opponent's plus ultra gauge by 20%. That's also OP, so really OP action skill 2. If the opponent is a hero, decreases plus ultra gauge by 30%. Only available in Club Festival and Arena, yep. yeah, a little bit OP. When using a successfully executed skill chain, increases character's plus ultra gauge by 30%. Auto skill 1 increases larceny count by 1 every turn up to 5 times, and then increases, but you don't have a subtractor like other characters have, so that's interesting. So once you hit turn 5, you just have your larceny there all the time. Increases character's defense relative to larceny count by 6%. Increases all allies shield, Shihisekai, I'm saying that so wrong, members' skills by 30%. Increases the 8 bullets skill impact by 10%. Auto skill 2 gives character the ability to hide for 1 turn every turn. When character's hiding, gives character the ability to use sharp eye, a chance of evading 30%, and increases speed of all allies by 30%. When character is not hiding, gives character the ability to make a last stand 3 times and regenerates HP by 40% up to 2 times. Okay, so that once again was by Rasi for Toya Setsuno. Once again, if I say it wrong, I apologize. And we got 2 more left, I do believe, so we'll try to get through them all. I think we're getting there. My voice is starting to go, but we'll make it, guys. We'll make it. Okay, so Mr. Zombie, Destroyer Worlds Overhaul Climax Battle. So a Climax Battle Overhaul. Interesting. We need it. We need it. Plus Ultra move is called Embodiment of Evil. Deals 700% damage to a single opponent. High chance 80% of causing fear in the opponent for 2 turns. And restores character's HP by 30%. Action skill 1, Terrain Disassembly, 5 turn cooldown. Ooh, 11 turn cooldown on that one, crazy. Deals 250% damage to all opponents, decreases speed of all opponents by 20% for 3 turns. This attack has a low chance 25% of blocking the opponent's recovery for 2 turns. I will say the low chance is fine if you have a multi-hit attack. If it's not a multi-hit attack, I would raise that percentage to a medium chance. Action skill 2, Give Me Your Power, 11 turn cooldown. Deals 300% damage to a single opponent, removes all temporary buffs from the opponent, transfers all removed buffs and their cooldowns to the character. Okay, this skill's cooldown time is reduced by 1 for every temporary buff taken from the opponent. That's nuts. That's actually really cool. That's so cool. I like that a lot. This skill lands a bullseye if the opponent has speed down. Auto skill 1. Under My Protection, gives all allies the ability to make a last stand 1 time at the start of the battle. Also gives all allies block buffs and skill sealed immunity for the first 3 turns of battle. That's pretty good. And then auto skill 2, Sacrificial Pawns. When character's health reaches, if you could add bind to that, that'd be OP. Sacrificial Pawns, let me get back to where I was. Sacrificial Pawns, when character's health reaches 15%, gives character persistence for 2 turns. When character gains persistence, transfer 3 temporary buffs and their cooldowns from each of your allies to the character. Character gains piercing shot, and when character has 10 or more temporary buffs while having persistence. Okay, so it's all about temporary buffs, stealing them from enemies and allies. Interesting. That's very, very interesting. That'd be a cool one to see. I honestly think that'd be a cool one to see in the game. And I believe Mast is last. He is. Okay, so Mast, you are I Can Be a Hero to Yuga Aoyama, and that's very fitting considering where the new season of the series is at. If you guys haven't watched it yet, make sure you go watch that. So, plus Ultra move is called Supernova. Deals 700% damage to a singular opponent and 250% damage to all other opponents. Okay, AoE for Aoyama, like it. We need an Aoyama in the game, by the way. This moves plus Ultra skill impact is increased by 25% if unit's HP is increased, and increases power by 20% for 2 turns. Action skill 1 is called Naval Saber, and this deals 300% damage to all opponents, increases character's action skill impact by 25% for 3 turns, and decreases the character's HP by 10% for 2 turns, and decreases the opponent's defense and speed by 15% for 3 turns. 3 turn cooldown, 2 AoEs so far, looking very, very strong if this is a general pool unit. Action skill 2 is called Harsh Training. Cancels 3 of the character status elements and reduces damage to character by 5%, which is stackable, okay. Max up to 30%. And also gives character critical hit rate up by 20% for 2 turns, and shortens character's cooldown count by 1 if using a second or later successfully executed skill chain. If the cooldown count is just for this move, that's fine. If the cooldown count is by 1 for this move and the other move, I think you need to bump this up to 4 turns. Auto skill 1 is called Traitor to UA. If there is a class 1A character on the team, decreases their power by 15%, but increases their HP, defense, and speed by 10%. Okay, it's kind of a trade-off. Increases character's HP and defense by 10% for each class 1A character on the team. Okay, interesting. Auto skill 2, I Will Only Sparkle. Gives character persistence for 2 turns when HP is below 10%. Gives character immunity to blindness. and restores HP of character by 10% for every 4 critical hits that are made. All right, Yuga Aoyama, very interesting character to end on, but massive shout out to everybody who created kits, who submitted kits here, and I just want to give like the biggest thanks to you guys. Thank you for doing this, because without you, I could not make these videos. And thank you to everybody who is watching this video as well. And please go down there, show some love for the people who created these kits. Drop down in the comments who was your favorite. Also, leave some likes on this video. I would really appreciate it. And if you guys aren't already subscribed, please consider doing that as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.